Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem.
Good morning, race fans. Welcome to today at the races at historic Pimlico. I'm Naomi Tucker, joined by the voice of Maryland Racing, Dave Rotman. And not alone is Dave pretty decent as an announcer. You're a very good handicapper as well.
Well, we'll try today. I mean, you say the voices should be well rested after yesterday. 2 and done yesterday. With the track maintenance crew here's really done a superb job with all that rain. I mean, continuous rain. And even the days before Friday, Pimlico, I think it's rained almost every day here. So the track in great shape to start today, listed as muddy, Naomi.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful job indeed. It's not easy, and we had the storm yesterday. Thankfully, it is dry at present, so we'll continue to keep you abreast if the track keeps drying out. It currently is indeed rated as muddy, and of course, we didn't get the chance to start that big pick 6 carryover yesterday, but today we'll kick things off in race number 3, $974,000, 564 on offer. I mean, we're making that 975K. I can make the same joke here. And we went over $1 million yesterday, so I am confident that we'll get the opportunity to do so again.
Yeah, should blast off right over $1 million as we start the day. Even though we are off the turf, I think there's a couple of races that really are intriguing to me with some solid, I think I've got some solid picks in there, but the off the turf races might have to work around a little bit in here.
I agree. It is sometimes tricky trying to gauge how some of the runners that might have done well on turf now coming on a muddy surface, how is that going to translate? So we'll try and do our best. But of course, tomorrow, big day ahead. 5 stakes races on offer. One of the highlights to me is the Shine Again Stakes. Such a tough race for the fillies and mares. I mean, we have Anna's Bandit coming back. Chubwagon is trying to retain her undefeated record. Hello B is making her return. Hello Beautiful, that is, of course. That's my nickname for her. I love her so much. Don't Let Sweet Fool You, very fast as well. So really, really intrigued by that. And of course, Dave and I will run through a couple more of the stakes field in the latter section of today's show. So let's have a look at the current track conditions. We already hinted at it. The main track is muddy. We are off the turf. 64 Fahrenheit. Feels a little bit warmer than that, to be honest. It feels kind of nice.
It's actually very nice today after a couple of weeks of 90s here. We won't see 90s, I think, in Baltimore. They say for another couple of weeks, so it's going to be a pretty nice streak of weather here. We just need to get this rain that we've had out of the area. It looks like it's going to hold out throughout the day. And muddy now, but with any luck, maybe trending to good perhaps later in the day. The tarring the track now, as you can see, so that's going to help dry it out.
Yeah, fingers crossed as the work continues, but we'll let you know if there's any changes in the current going. Let's get started with the first race of this 8-race card on this Saturday at Pimlico. Start of the early pick, 5-12% takeout. Of course, first bet and express bet are the easiest way to place your wagers. You can download both of their apps on your phone, and you can watch all the action from the palm of your hand as well, across the nation, that is, not just the Pimlico action, anywhere else. So super easy to use and our preferred wagering partner. The first race on the card is a maiden claiming event, 16 to 12,500. We're going to go to 2-turn mile and 16 here. And we might as well get started with my top selection, Uncommon Valor. We do have a video of his last effort when he was going up against the maiden claimers 40. And he didn't get the best of start. You can see him there, kind of, as I would say, pinched back, door shut back on him, and wasn't able to use some of his speed. Now, he's never that forward early. He's never a leader, but he would have been better positioned. But I love how he kept on fighting throughout the stretch.
He was fighting. There was no way he was going to get to the eventual winner, Sebastian nor Inc., and they were neck and neck down to the line and 7 lengths clear. He's kind of a one-pace colt, even with that start, even if up to a better start. I just kind of picture him in my mind, having called him a couple of times, kind of a one-pace colt. So that's why I went the other way as you did. You went 6-7, I went 7-6, with L Equalizer taking the blinkers off. A horse who's typically had good early speed. He comes out of that Fermat race on a very sloppy track here in May the 30th. Verdict kind of still out, but I thought maybe the inside, I wouldn't call it negative, but maybe not the place to be. Out in the clear today with the blinkers off. Fermat, as you remember, the winner of that race, circled the field 6-7 deep on the second turn. In the meantime, L Equalizer up close. I think he's going to show speed today. Your horse, Uncommon Valor, we mentioned there. You saw the video. Tales of Saratoga. He's usually early speed, maybe can stick around. And Gold Fellow is an intriguing horse. Did not like his last race against Brightwood, but here's Claudio and putting the blinkers on.
And he is very strong when putting the blinkers on. Right. You have to include a Claudio horse when there is an equipment change. First time with blinkers on, smaller sample, but 2 winners out of 4 starters when applying the blinkers. So you always want to take a second look. But I like your top selection, L Equalizer. As you mentioned, blinkers come off. And he actually has already put his nose in front before. He won 3 starts back, but then got DQ'd. So now looking for that official maiden score. But in a way, I always feel like it's advantageous to know that a horse is capable of putting his nose in front without too much trouble. And Charlie Marquez takes the ride today. Race number 2, 5 furlongs. We're sprinting on the main track for fillies and mares 3-year-old and up, claiming 16 to 12,500. And let's start with my top selection again as well, because I did the video spotlight, so picked them out there. It is an on-the-turf race for Shaka Boom, but she's also very, very strong on the dirt. And we were kind of discussing her beforehand. She has the same running style on the dirt as on the turf, which is highlighted here by her being in front, ears pinned back, and just kicking clear once again. Yeah,
you know what you're going to get with her. Look at all of her running lines. She's been in front that first call in every race, but the one way back September 11th at her debut run back at Laurel. So that got that front running speed style for her. She goes turf or dirt. She is 1 for 1 on the wet track. There's still moisture in the track, listed as muddy, though it is harrowed, not a true sloppy track today. I think, though, that she may have a little competition up front in number 3, Ms. Headley, who comes from turf to dirt, but she's shown early speed on the dirt before over crosstown at Laurel way back November of last year without the blinkers. So this is her first start on the dirt since that run with the blinkers. She's very quick early and may give some competition to Shaka Boom. That's why I went for maybe an off-the-pace style horse here in number 8, the Gilded Lady from the Sibeli barn, coming from Gulfstream Park, and the South Florida runs there, and Tampa Bay. First foray at Pimlico, and on the main track now, a Gilded Lady. Think she'll be in a good spot right off the pace.
Yeah, we did just get the update. The main track going is currently good from the muddy we started off with. So we'll keep on seeing how the track is playing and going throughout the day, as it is indeed drying out and being worked on by our phenomenal team here at Pimlico. The number 8, Gilded Lady, I respect her massively as well. I have her in my exact, as you mentioned, Florida shipper, and she's run against against some better company before, and she's won at the claiming 20,000 level at Gulfstream Park. She was a little slower than usual on her last start and covered a fair bit of ground. I like her coming into this, and I think she hasn't gone on the off going yet. Now we've got good, so it's just a little bit of moisture. It's not too much, but she's bred to do pretty well. And she's by temperature, who's by tap out of a Sharpie Humor mare. I think that could suit her quite nicely. I am intrigued by the number 3, Miss Headley, who you mentioned underneath, because I had her on and off my picks. Now, do you know John Geraldo aboard, so he takes a couple of pounds off. That always helps. She's not that bad on the main track, but it has been a while since she's been on it.
I just don't think they're going to mess with her style here, you know. I mean, maybe try to go see if they're faster than Shaka Boom or maybe dual Shaka Boom. That's the reason I picked the filly from off the pace here in Gilded Lady. April Ness is kind of a check getter from the Jamie Ness barn. Shaka Boom's beaten her last 2 times they met, but not by far. If she runs that race she did 4 back at Laurel, man, I tell you, she had trouble finding a passing gear much of the winter at Laurel. Then all of a sudden she put it all together in breaking her maiden and powered away from the field. That was no fluke.
Yeah, that was a very strong performance indeed. As you mentioned, she has been bested by Shaka Boom twice, and in her last race, she got the perfect setup behind the pace and wasn't able to get by. So I'm using her underneath, but I think Shaka Boom to me sort of a clear pace in here. But I'll be intrigued to see if indeed she's going to be pressured a little bit by Miss Headley. We'll see. I think Shaka Boom is a touch faster early, so I'm going to say Hugh McMahon trainee Angel Cruz is going to be aggressive from the gates with her and kind of clear away before Miss Headley even knows what's going on. But that's me. I think that's how I see it play out here. I like the fact that we kind of flick back and forth in terms of our selections. Race number 3, of course, very significant because it's the start of the Rainbow Pick 6. Like I said, nearly 975,000 in the pot. We will hit that million. Terrific value to be found here. I mean, you have to try and at least take aim at this and hopefully secure the score of a lifetime. And I created a ticket here, and I did find a single. I go 4 deep in this event, though. 6 furlong sprinting, the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 5. Going to the lead is my top selection for Damon De Lovico, who's dropping back down from open company allowance level. But I feel like there's a couple in here that have been very tenacious and tough. So I didn't want to be left behind at the gates with this first leg of the Rainbow Pick 6. I go 4 deep. And then in race 4, I start going a bit tighter there. The 12 and the 7. The 12 is my top selection here. Fair few scratch in here. We're on the main track. Gleaming Sword on debut was going on a sloppy track, was sitting behind a touch bit of a slow pace and struggled to close into it. I'm hoping from a better performance second time around. Race 5, I used the 1 and the 5, looking for Candy will be speed on the rail, but the number 5, Keep Your Skates On, has shown that she can terrifically stalk and just taking a very strong drop in class for an informed trainer in Dale Capuano. Now my single comes in race number 6, which is 1 mile on the dirt for fillies and mares 3-year-old and up. Norman is a 2 optional. The 11 is towards, well, not as towards the outside. We have a fair screw scratches on her inside. Persisto for Tavian Toledo aboard. Kelly Breen Trench. Her last run was at Keeneland. She made that a win at the claiming 40 level. She's working incredibly sharp at Belmont. Look at that 59 flat, the 23rd of May. A bullet work out of 12. She is protected here once again. She's done well on and off going before, but I'd say it's going to be drying out. I'm taking her as a single. She's got that stalking ability. I'm putting all my eggs in her basket and hopefully it will pay off. And then I go 3 deep in race number 7 using the 3, the 6, and the 7. And then race 8 I go 3 deep as well using the 6, the 11, and the 12, which is a $28.80 ticket, which is a reasonable investment for a pot that's going to carry about $1 million. So let's hope I can get it done here with at least my 4 horses here in race number 3. We'll start with your top selection here, Dave, which is number 5, Palatial Times. Dropping steeply from that grade 3 Chick Lang, where he was just out sprinted, but he did, still rallied home. I dare say he was just a little bit outclassed there.
For a horse who is 62-1 in the Chick Lang, we have Mighty Mischief, who's now 3 or 4 lifetime. Jackson Traveler, champion Maryland-bred 2-year-old, was he last year? And horse off the board in there who I liked, but kind of disappointed. Willie Boy is very quick in his own right, and Hemp, I think, is entered tomorrow here at Pimlico. I thought it was a good effort from Palatial Times. He doesn't have a lot of early speed. That's my main question mark about him, but I thought that was an excellent run in the Grade 3 Chick line, beating only 5 lengths, finishing 5th that day. So he's got to have a decent pace in front of him. He might get a little help from a video that you'll show here in Going to the Lead.
Yeah, going to lead. Let's have indeed a look at that video. 2 starts back, he took them all the way, and he didn't do it the easy way. He was continuously pressured. You can see they were all coming for him, but he kind of just found a new gear there for Horatio Caramanos aboard. That was at the same level as here today, that starter optional claiming level. Stepped up to Open Allowance Company last time. I just struggled a little bit there, but not disgraced whatsoever when covering a lot of ground. So I like him coming back. I am a little bit worried. Not sure you want to be on the rail today with the track drying out. Might be better to just kind of come off it a little bit. I say Horatio Caramanos will be on board with that.
He certainly would have, I think, enough speed to maybe try to move off the rail a little bit. I mean, his last race at opening quarter, we mentioned this time and time again, 22-4 here at Pimlico. That's like going 21-4 somewhere else because the beam is right up against the fence, the gate rather. We've mentioned it many times. So he's definitely the speed of the race in there. And I noticed the old muffs, the old blinkers with the muffs on. Dale Capuano pulls that trick a few times with some horses and is waking them up. Damon DeLodovico there. We're going to the lead, the speed of going to the lead.
Yeah, the number 4, Sir Back in Black, both of us used in our exacta for trainer Jamie Ness. Well, Ness is very strong with a couple of angles here. As turf to dirt, he's 26%. And then from around turning back to a sprinting distance, he's 29%. And Sir Back in Black is very flexible. He's run okay enough on some ground with Mush as well as on a fast track. And when you go back to his last couple of times sprinting, he's ran in allowance companies, ran against tougher and done so pretty decently. So I think we're both on board here with the number 4.
Yeah, he's in for 32,000, but they claimed him back for 25. They haven't given up on him. I think they probably thought, we want to claim him, stretch him out, and that's kind of worked out. He did finish second, going a mile on the 16th, 2 back here at Pimlico, but he's also a hard-grinding, trying sprinter, and in his barn, they're not giving up on him. They're keeping him into the $32,000 level, having 5 runs already in that stable. So we'll see how he does faring with the shorten up. I think he's going to get a share, and maybe with any luck could actually win.
I have a bit of interest in the number 2 Sugar Daddy as well, really quickly before we move on. For trainer Claudio Gonzalez, quick week turnaround from a decent enough effort on the turf. Now back to sprinting on the main track. JD Acosta on board. Now JD has been riding phenomenally this meet thus far.
Well, yeah, and I think he just may be the one to try to engage going to the lead at some point, given the horse's running style and Acosta's aggressive riding style too. So I don't know. I'm hoping for a good pace and palatial times to come pick up the pieces. So 5 on top for me, but I can see with that opening quarter last to going to the lead where he could try to shake free if Sugar Daddy doesn't get the breaks of the race.
Yeah, indeed a race to figure out here. Hence, I go 4 deep to kick off the Rainbow Pick 6. Race number 4, if you don't want to play the Rainbow Pick 6, which I highly encourage you to do, we do start the late pick 5 right here. No carryover, but as always, that industry low 12% takeout as on offer by the Maryland Jock Club and the Strana Group. This is a maiden claiming 25 event, 5 furlongs on the main track here. We are off the turf. And let's start with your top selection in here, Dave, which is the number 7, Lost Uncle. First time starter for trainer Damon DeLodovico. But just looking at that work tab, I completely understand why you have him on top in here.
Well, it's more of a case where I'm not really sold on any of the horses that have run before. And with the moisture in the track, the Dam Looking for Me by Posse was 3rd in the Santa Anita Derby behind Exaggerator on a sloppy track. Exaggerator loved the off track himself, right? Pimlico, Preakness 4th. Foal. The other 3 foals were all winners. So she's thrown some winners before. Uncle Lino gelding, who may have some early speed or maybe stalk, at least according to his zippiness in the workouts in the morning. So it was kind of not a default pick, but a pick where I wasn't in love with any of the other runners in here.
Yeah, no, I do understand it. But by the looks of indeed his morning works at 47 and change from the gate, you think he'd be fast enough early to at least be in the mix a couple of strides lights after the gates break back. I use the number 12, Gleaming Sword on top for trainer Dale Capuano. Made his debut on, I was going to say a similar going, but that was a sloppy track. We're now on a good track and was sitting behind sort of a moderate pace. Try to close into that struggle to do so. Now, it's a bit of a tricky one because in a way I'd like to say it's always tough to close into a moderate pace, but he was close enough for it in the early stages for me to would have loved to have seen a little more from him. But that 51 buyer, if he's capable of improving on it, that should set him up in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell off of one run. He was second choice in that 6-horse field on his debut. The winner of that race, Maine, was like 0 for 14 maiden, 0 for 13 maiden coming into the race. You remember, and remember, Akdam was this runner-up of that race, was the Rainbow Pick 6 single for somebody. What a beat that was. But Maine 0 for 14, I'm not going to put too much stock in that. I just think he maybe improves second time out for Dale Cap. Solid barn, keeps him in for the 25, and he got play in his debut. Down there in the 3-hole, maybe he a little outside run today, breaking to the outside, but not too far out with the scratches for Gleaming Sword. I can see that.
Yeah, and gets a weight break with John Heraldo. 7 pounds get taken off there as well. That might help as well. So 12-7 for me. 7-6 for you, though. Let's quickly mention the number 6 you have in your exact. Oh, don't. Miracle Bobby here, MTO. I had a look at him underneath. I just feel like there needs to be some improvement, which is what I'm looking for with the number 12.
I think on the dirt he's going to have some. If he can go back to his dirt speed at Laurel last year, I don't know. Lately he just hasn't had much, and he was beaten by Gleaming Sword without much excuse last time out. But maybe today on the drying track, listed good, he can turn the trick around. So Ferris Allen's had a decent run here the last couple of weeks here at Pimlico, and so I can't leave him out of the mix.
No, absolutely not, especially because he does get that main track entry here, and it is a smaller field than anticipated before, which certainly helps the number 6, Miracle Bobby. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back with the latter section of the card.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Ground on her inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Pimlico Racecourse. Naomi Tucker, Dave Rodman, talking you through the latter section of the card. Hopefully picking a couple of winners for you. 6 fell on the distance for race number 5. Fillies and Mastery rolled an up. Nickel level non-winners a 2 throughout their career. The number 6, Dave, is your top selection in here. Moonlight Miss JD Acosta takes the ride for Charles Frog. And she's cutting back after fading in her last show and showing plenty of early ability. So I like this move.
Yeah, I like the cutback here. She's had 3 good long route races, and I thought her last race was better than looked in the running line on paper. You read the long comment that Keith and Bill put up there in Echo Base, stubbornly. And she didn't have an easy trip in that race. She vied for the lead, kind of cleared off, then dueled again, and then hung on stubbornly for third. With those 3 route races under her belt, there's some speed to the inside, looking for Candy and Sevilla Sangria. I think she'll make her presence known today. Acosta may not gun, just kind of like let her sit a little bit and then use her energy late, but she won't be too far from the front, I think. So I like her today. A Moonlight Miss here, and especially if you can get 5 to 1 or more.
Yeah, absolutely. I use the number 5, Keep Your Skates On, as my top selection. Quite an aggressive downward move by trainer Dale Capuano. She was last seen at the Claiming 16. No one is a 2 lifetime, now in for the nickel after not being able to completely see out her races going the 6 furlongs. I'm hoping that perhaps sometimes what we then start looking for is a bit of class release so she doesn't do as much early and still can keep on going.
Yeah, this is a class drop. I couldn't find much excuse in her last run, but Ranchard did come back to win after that victory. She was inside, maybe a different tack today, and it's coming from a little off the pace. She was a little close last time out, and she's got a couple of fillies in her running line. Sick Pack Sarah, who was on a streak, and way back a horse named My Girl I kind of put on stable mail from a decent run here. I think ran 4th, beating a couple of lengths. Was it last week or week before last? Can't remember. So yeah, and she's dropping in too. So I can see Keep Your Skates On in the mix here.
Yeah, you use the number 8, Hot choice in your exacta. I used her underneath for trainer Carlos Mancia. This is first off the claim for Carlos Mancia. We know
Well,
he's been
there you
very
go.
sharp at this level, especially sort of these lower levels. Should have looked up a stat. I'll do that for the afternoon because I know that the Carlos Mancia figures in terms of return on investment and strike rate
Yeah.
are very, very strong at these lower levels, and especially first off the claim, 26%.
Yeah, positive ROI. I mean, they don't really raise her up in the spot. They give her the time, and she comes back in the spot. So there you go. I mean, if you're going strictly by the stats off the claim, Barnes been a little quiet this meet, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, you've got a situation here where there's some speed looking for Candy Sevilla Sangria. She could be right off of it, as Moonlight Miss will be in this spot, and perhaps even keep your skates on in that second tier.
Yeah, I use the number 1 looking for Candy underneath. I hope that she'll be able to get to the front, because if you look at her last dirt event, 5.5 furlongs the distance was, she dueled the entire time, tired belatedly, only got beaten by 3 lengths at this level. I feel like if she's able to go to the front without too much push from the outside. I know there's a couple of speedsters in here, but she's drawn low. Victor Carrasco was on her 2 starts back during that race. I think they might be able to find some tactical advantage there, so I use her underneath. But it's a 5-1-6-8 for me, 6-8-3-5 for Dave, as we'll move on to race number 6, 1 mile on the dirt here. Optional claimer, non-winners, a 2 other than event. And Dave, we don't see this as similarly, but we do use the same number. So we'll just start with the horse that you have on top and I have in second, Judy Blue Eyes.
Well,
she's been so tough on the turf, but she's pretty decent on the dirt as well.
Yeah, she's a good dirt horse, and she turned out to be a really good, decent turf horse for
relished the
Claudia,
turf,
right?
yeah.
I mean, she had a good trip in winning, and then came back to eke out a nose victory and next time out. So they probably would have liked the race to stay on the turf, but it doesn't really matter. I think the key to her has been kind of the stretch out to 2 turns. Previously, she's been before the claim. She was I don't know if she was claimed or not. I can't remember the source has been, if you have all the PPs there. But she was kind of a turf one-run sprinter, not quite getting there. Good tries, but the key to her, I think, has been the stretch out. Turf or dirt for MCA Racing Stable. So that's the reason I lean to her in the 6th.
Yeah, she's been very tenacious going the distance. We're going to go mile and 16, 2 turns here. Excuse me, I do believe I said a 1 mile because that's what it was cut it at.
Right.
On the turf, we don't have a 1 mile here on the main track. It is mile and 16.
Although, interesting you mentioned that, because someone asked me, why don't we run 1 mile races on the dirt at Pimlico? And I said, I don't know. I haven't seen one since I've been here, since 1991. And we do have a track record for the mile on the dirt here. It was 1926. So they have been run here at Pimlico. I guess, anyway, it's not the preferred distance, 2 turns here.
I guess not. No,
Yeah.
I haven't seen one either. You've been here a lot longer than me.
Not since 1926.
I guess you're not that old just yet. Or don't want to age you too much here. You've been around to know the drill here. That's for sure.
Anyway, we digress. Let me go ahead. Go on.
No, I'm enjoying this. I haven't seen the mile, so we are going to mile 16. And Judy Blue Eyes, if you look back throughout her form, has done terrifically well and comes in here fit as a fiddle after those strong turf performances for trainer Claudio Gonzalez, who continues to rack up the wins here at Pimlico. I go with the number 11 Persisto on top for trainer Kelly Breen. I think she's got tactical abilities. There are a couple of scratches on her inside, so she actually isn't drawn that far towards the outside. She's been working super sharply at Belmont. That 59 flat bullet work on the 23rd of May. Her last run at Keeneland was a win at that claiming 40 level. I mean, yes, that was quite a gaudy figure, but if you look back through her form, she's regularly ran the mid-70s that would be able to get her the win here.
That's kind of exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, 81 was her best number buyer yet at Keeneland, and even if you attribute it maybe to a softer pace and the animal, Louis Saez aboard, I mean, you could still make a case for her running in the 70s. I mean, 3 back at Laurel. She's beaten a couple of lengths by Daphne Moon, who's kind of a low mid-70s type filly and mare. So even without that number, she certainly figures. My question about her, though, is the enigma in the race is Stop War in the Kelly Ribley barn. I don't have a rider named yet. I think we're going to get one here in a second, or about an hour ago we didn't get one. There'll be a jockey change there. She did show a lot of early foot at the fairgrounds on that dirt race. See that 3 back? But, you know, how good a feel was it? Was it a super soft pace or only 3 others behind her? But she may only have maybe 1 gear, maybe to try to maybe soften Persisto.
Yeah, I thought she was really interesting. I have her as a scratch, actually, but I actually might have been a rider change. I'm just quickly checking that now, if there is indeed a rider change
maybe the
in
trailer
here.
knows.
Maybe the trailer will know, indeed, if the guys have any news for me here. Kelly, I mean, I thought that was a terrific performance, 3 starts back. I did wonder if the fact that she didn't get pressured up front allowed her to inflate her figures like she did.
Yeah, if she, we'll see here, you know, there was a rider change to be announced, but if indeed, you know, she does come out of the race, I'm not saying she is, that certainly would help Persisto. How about looking dynamic? I mean, horse, I guess we're kind of talking about everybody else but her. I mean, she's run against Queen of Tomorrow, 5-time winner. She's been right behind Judy Blue Eyes on the grass, and she takes place in the Conniver 2 back against Maryland breds. Can she get the trip going 2 turns on the dirt and have a powerful impact late?
Yeah, I do wonder. It seems like she's done her best running over that 1-turn mile. Laurel, quick check, Stop War isn't in this, so that does help Persisto a little bit, I do believe. So, yeah, but looking dynamic, she's been a tough customer. She's been knocking on the door. She turns up every single time. Really nothing against her, but I'm wondering, is the setup there for her? She is that kind of sort of mid-pack horse, so perhaps she'll just see them all on her inside move forward. But she has to come up with that strong close. But she did so 2 starts back. She only beaten by 3/4 lengths behind Kiss the Girl. That was a 1:01 time from US pace figure for that final quarter. That's exactly what she would need to do here. If she can perform, if she can do that, she'd
from
be able.
From 1 turn to 2 turns, right? Yeah.
From 1 turn to 2 turns. She'd be able to get in the winner's circle, but that was at stakes level, so she is a hard-knocking filly coming in here as well. As we'll move on to race number 7, which is 6 furlong sprinting here, 3-year-olds and up, 2 other than optional claimer. And Dave, we just see this differently once again. We have similar numbers, but we go different ways. The number 7 is your top selection, Noble Commander, drawn towards the outside here. Charles Frog, JD Acosta aboard. I'm looking at the figures of him, and here's perhaps my question. This is a gelding who came off a very lengthy layoff when he was trained by Phil D'Amato. That was 679 days, so that was long. He came back, ran a very decent 4th that day, and then he's been, you know, quite a hard campaign against some tough runners. I mean, look at that wonder where Craig is, Eastern Bay, kept the right company. But is he going to be able to put in a career best performance here? Or is he going to maybe flatten out a little after quite, 15 days, 9 days, 20 days in between after having run for so long?
Yeah, I think we'll find the answer in the opening 3/8 of a mile. He's very quick. That opening quarter 23 flat, he dueled that day down on the inside there, took kind of the worst of a trip. Today he's out in the clear, and I think he's the fastest of the speed in this spot. So I'm counting on him to retain his form, and if he does, he's a wire-to-wire threat. Certainly by race 7, we'll know whether speed's okay, or maybe it's all deep closers today on this drawing track.
We will figure it out for sure.
But I'm always lean to the speed horse, especially here. So
yeah. I end up using Youngest of 5. Of course, Noble Commander did best him in that last race, but I'm hoping that with his lower draw, he might get a perfect sort of stalking setup and things kind of go his way here, which is the type of gelding that does need that. He needs things to go his way. He was perhaps best when being closer to the front, but now drawn low with that race under his belt. I'm thinking perhaps he can navigate himself a trip.
Yeah, he can. I've seen him show good early speed. I've seen him come off the pace. He'll be in the prime spot here, right off the speed. It appears Youngest of 5. He's done kind of both ways, right?
Yeah, and what about the number 6, Motivation for trainer Michael Trombetta? Second after 180 days break, plus it's second after the claim as well. Now, Michael Trombetta hasn't been hitting here as strongly as sometimes he has in the past on this circuit. Yeah,
well, he doesn't have as good kind of speed, I don't think, as Noble Commander does, but his second off the claim was second to a sharp filly, or excuse me, a horse like last time out named Belle Tapestry, who's had a pretty good little mojo run around here. Motivation Motivation was second behind Belle Tapestry. Now Trombetta had 2 in the race, 5 Torture Truth, 6 Motivation. He lets 1 stay, and that's Mojovation. So maybe he's trying to get the race to go for Mojo here. This is a good little sprint, competitive sprint, I think, here.
I agree. Looking forward to race number 7. And the final race on the card here is a mile and 16 on the main track. Maiden claiming 16 to 12,500. Do make sure to make a note of the scratches because the field does look slightly bit different. But you and I both like the number 11 Pat's Factory, who I actually really liked if they were going to be on the turf as well. But I think the dirt might just translate in. We do have a video of his last turf event, which was here at Pimlico, where he didn't get the best of starts either, because as we just similarly saw with one of the other horses we talked about, kind of got slammed in a little bit there by the other runners. But still, he ends up putting in a career best performance that day by rallying so strongly late. Look at him coming there. He just keeps on finding. Now we'll have to do something similar on the main track, and you do sometimes wonder if the main track will carry a type like him as much as the turf might allow him to close.
Well, he's had experience on the main track. I mean, the 4 to 5 favorite in there last time out was Jestful, who's in against him today, and you look at his dirt form, and it's not really good. But the only reason I used him in the mix, I used the 11 on top, and the reason I used, you picked Jestful on top, is a Majestic Perfection. I don't know why, but I just remember I thought he was a turf horse. Looking him up, he was like a really sharp dirt sprinter, but he's 19% on off going. But with the track dry, I think that the moisture will still be in here. We're going to be pretty much good throughout the day.
I think so as well. Yeah, I ended up using Jestful on top because I do actually think that in terms of breeding that it could work with some moisture in the ground. And he ended up that first turn, that was on the turf, his last effort, carried 6 wide on the turn, covered so much more ground than anyone else did. And this has consistently run numbers that put him in here. That does have to translate to the main track, but had a good enough effort on the all-weather as well. And in terms of his talent, this isn't the biggest of group. This isn't the toughest of group. So I end up going with a horse that I think is going to show a little bit of speed here. Perhaps he can be closer like he was 3 starts back when finishing 4th, only beaten by a length, where he was just sitting just off the speed at maiden 40 level. Now that was on the turf, but this is a drop in level comparatively. He seems to be faster than some of the others in here, so perhaps he can go back to that kind of form, which was a 61 buyer, which would be enough to win the nightcap.
Yeah, and if he doesn't show up, and Pat's Factor doesn't show up, then the race kind of becomes a little more open. I did use the 12 Roy G. Biv in here for only one reason, and that was the dam who was in the money 5 times from 5 tries on kind of a wet track. And with the drying out track, it looked like maybe he improved just a little bit in buyer numbers, 32 to 38, both 5th place finishes, 2-time in his 2 runs. He's by Revolutionary, ought to like the distance in here, and he could just grind it out. Roy G. Biv.
Yeah, I use him as well. Agree with the aforementioned reason and try to close into a very slow pace last time out at the maiden 10 level. Perhaps they go a bit more faster to his liking today and he can actually capitalize on that. But I agree. To me, the 6 and the 11 are the 2 main horses in the nightcap. And then underneath, Roy G. Biv is my 3rd choice in here. So 6, 11, 12, 2, the near exact same horses we use here, Dave, as we'll finish up the handicapping part of this morning's today at the races for lightning round. We have 5 stakes on offer tomorrow. Let's hope the rain stays away. I really would like to see us on the turf because the Searching Stakes, a mile and a half, is on the beautiful grass. And you can see the field there, 8 horses in here. I ended up already having a look at it. I don't know if you had a look before. I ended up on the 7 Luck Money for Arno Delacour. Ran in the American Oaks, the Grade 1 American Oaks before coming here. Has had a bit of a break, but he's done well off a layoff like that before.
You've got some solid trainers in here who are really good with layoff horses. Arno, a good one of them, and Graham Motion with Blame Debbie and another one. This filly won an allowance race at Kentucky Downs and was disqualified, a victim of a ridiculous disqualification. I'll say it, okay? I didn't bet on her that day, but I couldn't believe. Anyway, she came back and redeemed herself with 2 wins, both favorites, including the Grade 3 Dowager. She's been rested up. Graham's been doing really great lately, especially with these layoff horses in here. I like her a lot. Tomorrow, Blame Debbie.
Yeah, I like Blame Debbie as well. I have her underneath. I think we are set for quite the showdown in the Searching Stakes. But all the other races have come up incredibly strong as well. Look at that Ben's Cat Stakes field. I mean, we are really going to receive a treat, I hope, tomorrow. And I'm praying that the weather gods are with us for it as well, because that is 5 furlongs on the turf. And look at that absolutely loaded field. Nearly didn't fit on the screen there. 13 horses coming up. I mean, I think this is a terrific renewal. I was trying to figure out who I ended up wanting to go with. I landed on the number 11 towards the outside, which is introduced in here for Jorge Duarte Jr., Javier Toledo. If you look back at that license fee effort against the likes of Robin Sparkus Caravel, I think this is a mare that's going to find perhaps a little bit less tough of a field than what she's opposed in her last couple. And she won the Smart and Fancy Stakes at Saratoga, even though that was sprinting on the main track. It came off the turf. But she's that flexible. She's just an out-and-out sprinter that can go on both surfaces. Yeah,
and here's another horse that can go on both surfaces coming off of Cannon's Roar, Dale Capuano. Really, really been sharp on the grass, but this horse can sprint on the dirt should the race come off the dirt there. He's at 7 now. He's coming back. I mean, he's running some tough spots, and I think he's maybe even a little better sprinting than he is going long, which is scary because he's won a few races going long in his life.
He's very strong. I love how Dale prepared him here as well. Bounced him out of the gate.
A lot of speed in here. A lot of speed signed on, at least initially, on paper.
Yeah, the 6th of June, that workout 36-3 bounce from the gate makes me think he is tightening the screws on Cannon's Roar for this.
I want to mention, too, the MTO horse in here, Hemp. If Palatial Times today wins, I mean, you might want to take a look at that horse if he's in, and they take that run off the turf behind Mighty Mischief and Jackson Traveler. I thought a really good effort in the Grade 3, Chick Lang, Narrowleaf Farm, and Farrier.
Agreed. I really do like him. If it comes off the turf, I think he will be tenacious there from that low draw. The last stakes that I quickly wanted to mention is the Prince George County, mile and 1/8 on the turf. And this was a race that, some heavyweight runners in here. A couple coming off a break. I ended up using the number 1 Pixelate on top for Michael Stidham. Very, very tough in that Henry Clark stage. What a battle that was between him and Corelli. I remember that. Nearly didn't know who won it. We had to wait for the picture to come in.
That was a sequence of heart attack photo finishes for me that day, if I recall. Some really good finishes on Preakness weekend, and that was one of them. It is a tough spot. I mean, Joe Sharp's got midnight tea time in here.
Yes.
And he's got another horse I like a little bit named Logical Myth, who had a little streak going there, won the Diliberto and the Bradley at the fairgrounds. If he can kind of cycle back to those runs over the winter in New Orleans, I think Logical Myth at 8-1's a look-see.
Yeah, tenacious third behind Colonel Liam as well. We know how strong Colonel Liam for the top Pletcher barn has been, but I use the number 12 Midnight Tea Time underneath for Joe Sharp as well. I think that gelding is coming in here in terrific form as well. Wrap up the handicapping section and today at the races. And Dave, you'll be back in just a second, right, with all the scratches and changes?
We'll get the catch up scratches and changes here in a moment and keep you up to date.
Good luck, everyone.